Good evening, televiewers. You're welcome to Prime Hour on my Media Prime. CDC is going 1, CDC is going 2, CDC is going 3. We do not know how many times we have to make this call for the situation of CDC to be turned around by those who have competence and capacity to make things happen for the CDC. We are going to be looking at what is happening with the agro giant in Cameroon, second employer after Cameroon government. Things have not been working well, especially after the advent of the ongoing Anglophone crisis. But already there were signs, distress calls that were already emanating from the CDC even before this crisis. But the situation is seemingly not getting better. We find out why with our panelists who already are in the house. Good evening, televiewers. We are going to be discussing about this time around, not with the people of CDC, with our panelists who are in the house. Apostle Ambe, Valentine Ngwa is in the house with us. He is our consultant. Good evening and welcome.
Good evening, Mr. Leo. Good evening, my co-panelists. Good evening, Cameroonians and the suffering masses who've lost their jobs as a result of the downturn on the CDC, the Cameroon Development Corporation, and we believe by the grace of God today we're going to be calling the government's attention to that second highest employer after the government.
Okay, equally with us is Tah Mai Javis, who is sitting in for Dr. John Ako, who just wrote to us now that he has an emergency to attend to, so he may not be joining us in the course of our discussions this evening. Welcome.
Good evening, Leo. Good evening to the Bishop of Biya. Good evening to the President Biya. Good evening to Nijon Fungi. Good evening to Maurice Kamto, Senior Barrister Ashu, Prince Ekoso. And good evening to all the political stakeholders in Cameroon and the businessmen and women who are struggling despite the conflict in northern, southwest, and the internal wrangling in all the other cities. Once a good evening to them. Courage, brothers and sisters, do not stumble.
Also with us is Akwen Nadieh. She is one of the vice presidents of the CPRN and party led by Cabral Libi, in charge of women of the Diaspora. Good evening and welcome.
Good evening, Mr. Kum. Good evening to my co-panelists. Good evening to all the televiewers of Prime TV. Good evening to all Cameroonians. And I want to send a special greetings to all the women. You know, we are moving towards the Women's Day that was suspended due to the COVID-19. But I want to tell all the women that despite the suspension of manifestation due to the COVID-19, women can still create an impact. And I want to tell them that COVID-19 in Cameroon is a reality. It's not a sham. It's not a scam. So we need to protect ourselves and protect our loved ones if we want to stay alive. Thank you. Okay.
We are going to start with you, Apostle Ambe, Valentine Ngwa. Can we understand the fact that distress calls have been coming out of Limbe for so long now? Seemingly nothing is happening. How do we understand?
Mr. Leo, we've been singing this song on this particular channel for quite a long time now. And I think there are some very fundamental truths we have to tell the government of this country to understand about the CDC. You cannot jeopardize the destiny of almost about 22,000 Cameroonians, because CDC empowers or employs at least 22,000 Cameroonians, and CDC runs a capital of 317 billion, 718 million francs CFA. That's a huge amount of money that is affecting the economy and the per capita income of the country. And because of the Anglophone crisis, CDC has been greatly hit. And since then, everything seems to be crumbling and going down every day, and the government keeps quiet. My worry is the other corporations in the country where they keep pumping money, like Cameco and other organizations in the country. Why is it that they are neglecting CDC? Are they trying to give us the impression that because it is practically based in the English-speaking region of the country, that's why it's not considered? Secondly, Sonara is also based in the English-speaking of the country. It has gone down, but plans are underway to see how to reconstruct Sonara. I wish to ask if the idea of CDC as a whole is an Anglophone thing or it's a national thing, because to the best of my understanding, I have visited CDC in Limbe. You have a lot of people from the West, people from the central region who are working in the CDC and earn their livelihood from the CDC. And if the government is adamant and very, very negligent as far as CDC is concerned, then there is something we are yet to discover as far as the whole scenario of CDC is concerned. The government has to make Cameroonians understand why this great neglect, because from the analysis we've been taking for quite a long time now, almost about 4 years, it is very crystal clear that the government is paying very little or no attention to the fall of CDC. And I'm calling the government of Cameroon to look into the matter as we continue this session today. We're going to be talking a lot of things and the damages that has caused the people of the north and the south, considering the fall of the CDC. Okay.
Good evening to you, Agura Rigel Tembeng, watching from Japan. Good evening to you too, David and Chamba. Amos Ngwi watching from Bambili. God bless you guys. God bless you too. Mohammed Baba watching from Atlanta, Georgia, USA. And to you, Anun Kafu. Good evening to all of you. Can we also, do you have an understanding of why CDC, as we speak, is still under very, very difficult situation?
I see it more of a kind of coup d'etat in the economic perspective, with some businessmen in different localities who offer a similar product or do similar thing that CDC is doing, wanting to use it as an opportunity to invest or to, build a brand in different localities and different regions, because you will not explain that as Senior Apostle rightly put it, looking at the number of people CDC employs, looking at the fact that CDC is apolitical, is non-partisan, looking at the fact that CDC contributes to the GDP of Cameroon substantially, looking at the fact that it runs a good amount of budget and developmental plans within the country, and that before the conflict, I want us to get this clear, CDC started limping and crawling before the armed conflict. So people should not just feel like it's just the armed conflict that CDC is limping and crawling. When we see concerted effort of not getting support to CDC as far as the war between the war period from 2016, 2017, 2018, 2019, 2020, and 2021, one is tempted to say that maybe because some other parastatals who offers the same situation or similar product in different French regions, because they exist, that's why effort is not being put in, and internal wranglings within the government sector to ensure that these people with vested interests do their production. But my simple conclusion, or where I came to conclude, is that it is simply because CDC is an Anglophone thing, and it's located in an Anglophone region, and because there is a conflict now going on in the Anglophone region, they say, since people want to fight the conflict, maybe people stay. But we forget to understand that it is not an Anglophone company. It is a Cameroon company, and it's not just a Cameroon company, but it portrays the image of the nation from the agricultural perspective. Mr. Leo, let's have a bit of mathematics looking at how the economy is being affected by CDC. Apostle puts it 22,000 plus. Now, it's a triple effect. These 22,000 plus, they have families. It's like a family tree. There are families that they feed, and these families have families and families and families. Now, if you deprive of these 22,000 of their resources, by default, you are depriving the 22 million Cameroonians of the easy flow of income and stability in terms of the economic perspective. So, this is what the government needs to do. The government, in its part, need to forget about Cameco that is creeping. In fact, Cameco and other parastatals that do not offer a great amount of employment to Cameroonians. I'm not saying that Cameco is not important. It is important. But look at the services that CDC provides. CDC does not only provide services for food. CDC employed, CDC carry developmental projects. There are areas where we have CDC schools, there are areas where we have CDC electricity, there are areas where we have CDC camp, and it serves as a habitat, it provides shelter for others. So if you look at a great amount of services that CDC provide, why investment is not being done in CDC? It's simply because they feel like it's an Anglophone thing and it should not be catered for. My view for this is that if the government claims we are for national unity and integration, CDC should be used as an example to send a strong message that we are not neglecting CDC, but rather want to prove that we are investing in CDC. Mr. Do, let's look at Tico. From Tico, how many of those people in Tico have been paid? but they keep working. They keep working. And even as far as the conflict is concerned, billions are being pumped into Kameku. Billions are being pumped into other parastatals. People keep embezzling. The amount of money that the Cameroon government wants to use to the other stadiums that I hear they want to borrow, they should just take that money and borrow to CDC. Send that money to CDC. CDC should use that money and give back to the government after 5 years. You will see that it is a budget that is going to boost the economy of Cameroon and employ more people. But when they want to take that amount and give to construct a stadium which an amount was previously allocated to that stadium and it was not constructed. So take that money, borrow to CDC, lend that money to CDC without interest. Give CDC that money without interest. Say, okay, take this money and focus on where you think you can do your production more. So let's have a development. So to me, they are looking at it from more of an Anglophone company. That's why it is creeping and crawling.
Okay, do you understand what is happening? As a political party, have you people made efforts to diagnose why it is not working for the CDC?
Well, Mr. Kum, CDC, as the name stands, it is Cameroon Development Corporation. It means it is for all Cameroonians, despite where it is based. So this company was created in 1947, and it has yielded a lot of fruits. It has helped boost the economy of Cameroon. It has employed over 22,000 and plus Cameroonians. In the statistics, it shows that CDC constantly pours out 500 million every month to make sure that the economy of the Southwest region is being boosted. But now we understand that this company that has helped a lot of Cameroonians, that has employed a lot of Cameroonians, that fits a lot of Cameroonians, is going to, it's moving towards the end. And the question is, why is it that the government is still silent? Why? The government was able to tell the CDC not to send some employees home, and they were able to inject 4.1 billion to be able to pay some of these employees. But it was not enough. This is just a minute amount to be able to help the CDC. And I think that in the CPNR we are working, and we think that we are on the parliamentary, we are going to debate on this, and I have spoken to my president to be able to bring this to the table so that they can talk to see how they develop this company that has helped a lot of Cameroonians. And Mr. Leo, let me tell you, this company it is a state-owned company. It is owned by the state, and the state has to ensure that this company is continuous running normally. Because we noticed that during the as the Anglophone crisis started, these companies started crumbling because the number of tons of bananas that were being exported reduced from 18,000 tons to 1,300 tons. So it has greatly reduced, and it went up to 7% of the normal tons that were being exported out of the country. So we see that the CDC has greatly crumbled, and the government still keeps quiet. Why? Because it is found in the Anglophone zone. They have cold shoulders all the time. When it concerns the Anglophone things, they do not care. And let me tell you, this government works in the sense that they are trying to look where they will profit, because CDC needs a lot of money to be able to stand. Yet they were able to inject 55 billion to be able to build a stadium that is not at a pressing need for now, because that stadium is not at a pressing need for now.
We have to host
we have to host, but the CAF team, the FIFA team said, if we are ready with that field, we are going to use it. So it's not a pressing need. It must not be finished now. Cameroonians need job. They need to feed. We have children that need to be schooled. So these are very important issues that the Cameroon government were supposed to table out. But they keep giving out money to things that are not important and that are not really at a pressing need in Cameroon. So I think that the Cameroon government should reschedule the way they work. They should put the interests of all Cameroonians. They should look forward to see that they love their population rather than trying to fight and see where they are going to have their personal gains, for me.
Okay, Mr. Ngwa is in the studio with us. You are a militant of the CPDM party. Yes, but do you also think that if care is not taken, CDC may also join the list of companies that are said to have died in the west of the Mungu when people start talking of the Produce Marketing Board, Powercam, all of that? WADA is should the government not really take extra care with the CDC so that people not conclude that seemingly there is a plot to get this giant in agriculture in Cameroon out of the scene?
Yeah, thank you very much, Mr. Kum. and I'm wishing good evening to all my fellow co-panelists, televiewers, telespectators, and the entire government, and most especially the PM of the Republic, Mr. John Gov't, Dr. John Gov't, which I know actually he is one of those pivot of Cameroonians who is out to make sure there's equity at all levels, irrespective of rank. Regional balance is a core ideology for him, as I know. I would apologize here to fellow Cameroonians that I'm not standing here on behalf of the ruling party as such. This is a call for all Cameroonians to the government. It is not something we are supposed to take the party banner which we because if you look at corporate laws, which I think do possess some mastery to an extent, CDC, like any other PLC, public limited liability company, which is even graded first category because they're second employer after the government. CDC, all the obligation on the CDC is the legal entity which owes the obligation to for 9 times CDC will take care of CDC to survive and return, survive and sustain the employees of that company. So if today I see CDC is crumbling, some companies like the Cameroon Shipyard and Industrial Engineering, Chantier Naval, which the French acronym entails, which I equally have mastery, I passed through that company. And today, when I see about the management of that company, it's actually not welcoming and it's not acceptable. I'm equally calling on the government and top management to see into the plight of this company, most especially CDC and the Cameroon Shipyard and Industrial Engineering. These are the two companies which I know has been boasting MINFI, that is Ministry of Finance. They have been capable of suspending when the government is going on the grievances. They can't meet up with the payroll of the civil servants. This is the company the Cameroon government leans onto to be able to sustain the payments of public servants. And it's not what mentioned here. We find CDC is being neglected. Honestly speaking, when we look at most of the key positions, irrespective of the fact that the GM of CDC and some few managers comes from the Anglophone regions, but you look at other managers, majority of the managers who come from who possess positions are francophones, which I know they actually eating and grow fat from this company.
Yeah, but the problem is we want CDC to survive.
Yes, we want CDC to revive. Good, but then so far I don't see how you pretend you have a child and you want a child to become a minister tomorrow and you're not taking care of that child. It's practically impossible. That's what I'm talking about here.
Okay.
CDC needs to be taken care of.
Good evening to you, Anun Kafu, and to you, DJ Basil Tah, who are watching from Germany. Kinge Bella, good evening, Mr. Kum, watching from the United Arab Emirates, and to you, Ekwoge. Eriku Njumbus, watching from Bawoum in Bafut, good evening to you. Mixed the Mix, good evening, Mr. Kum, watching from the United Arab Emirates, Stanley, and Sun State, good evening to you. Julius Chofo, my brother, and Apostle Ambe, Valentine, and Ngwa. Now, should the government not be wary, like I said to him, that if anything should happen to the CDC, it is going to conclude that there is a cabal with the sole objective of dismantling anything that actually that carries the values of the people. It is true. They say it is a national. It's a company that is national, but this is something that is also dear to Anglophones, especially to the people of Fako, because it was said that after this, it should go to them.
Mr. Leo, our government has developed a thick skin above accusation. They are not moved, because if accusations actually move the government of this nation, the accusations leveled against them, as far as the Anglophones are concerned, the crisis in question on ground right now is supposed to have moved this government to react. Is it not strange that human beings are dying? It has never been raised in the parliament. Do you think that they would take plantains and rubber, banana and pepper as a subject matter? They will deny to take the burden of animate objects into a parliament, that you expect them to take the burden of inanimate objects like the pepper, the plantain, the rubber, the banana to the parliament. Anything that is not taken to the parliament of the country to be deliberated upon, it shows the thing has no value. If human lives have not had value to the government in question, do you think that plants will have value to their lives? People are dying every day in the English-speaking region of the country, and it has never for once been raised in our parliament. That is a subject that was supposed to have been treated at least 6 to 7 times in the parliament. It has not been raised. Then now we are talking about plants dying, crops dying. Human beings who are somehow connected to those plants and crops are equally dying. If at all we are talking about accusation, or the government feels that it's a cabal, the government gives a damn to what people think. I think this government is only moved by what satisfies them. They are not carried by what touches the masses. You people can ring your bell, sing your song, and disappear into oblivion. As long as what you are saying does not concern them, they are very less concerned about it. So for us to start thinking that the government will feel some form of accusation, it's not an issue. I said something on this platform. I say only a man that has running stomach believes that everywhere is toilet. It means you can excrete everywhere to discharge the burden you are carrying in your system. I think the people of CDC once rose up, marched in the streets, carried peace plans, and complained that for months they have not been paid, they have not been feeding. The issue is we are looking only about the employment rate. There are other repercussions. A lot of thieves have been raised as a result of the going on with CDC. Most people who were taking the CDC as a shield to avoid their violence or bad behavior, because that corporation has gone down, it has left them jobless. Most of them will fall back to very violent behaviors. They will enter into atrocities. Crime wave has increased now as a result of joblessness, because those are the things that increase crime wave in the society. The consumption of hard drugs to take away the pain, the menace, and the sorrow as a result of joblessness. Many have fallen back very low into the consumption of hard drugs. The issue of people not working again, children have been dropped out of school. Many children no longer go to school. So you discover that the moral situation of the country is going down, the educational situation is going down, the per capita income is going down. You will also realize that crime waves, like I said earlier, have increased as a result of the CDC not being available. They are not working. Now, how do you couple all these damages together and then you give a deaf ear to it? Because you can cut the root of a tree thinking that you affected the root. You've affected the stem, affected the branches, and affected equally the fruits of the tree. So when we think that unemployment is going to give people joblessness, it's going to create a lot of things. Because why? And many people are connected to the employment of one person. Secondly, CDC provided health services to most of its workers. Most of those clinics are not working anymore. Workers are not there. You discover that the death rate will definitely increase because people are not given the opportunity to go to hospitals anymore and be treated for lower income. That's another damage. CDC also was doing infrastructural development. Like Trump said, roads leading to certain camps and certain places were graded. Those roads have become forests. it becomes very, very critical. And now housing situation, the CDC camps that were used as lodging for most of its workers, they are no longer functional. People are no longer there. So you realize that one single crime has produced a chain reaction of several disadvantages. If the government looks critically into the CDC dilemma, they will understand how dangerous it is to abandon CDC. That thing they feel like is affecting only the Northwest. Those who are born as thieves out of this crisis will not steal only in the Southwest, because the South is already been dry. They will produce more thieves in this area because this is where life seems to be going easily. The CDC is not only in the South as we may speak. They went to Ambe in the Northwest to start producing palms. CDC is part of the EVECAM that we have somewhere around Kribi. So if we put all together, you realize that it's the entire economy that has been affected. A lot of parents sponsor their children. Some of us sit there, we are products of CDC salary. My father worked in the CDC. That was where they were able to raise money to send me to school. Now, you realize that a lot of people are psychologically traumatized as a result of the fact that CDC is going down. And if CDC goes down, Cameroon government should understand that there will be a very, very, very harsh drop in the per capita income of this country. Why? Because CDC is the highest or second highest employer after the government of this country. Now, new farms were supposed to have been developed. Expansion into new territories, new forests that were given to be developed, everything has halted, which means in some years, because Cameroon banana was registered as the best banana in the world market, that gave us an impetus in the agricultural sector as far as the world market was concerned. That banana is no longer going. So in the absence of a crocodile, the lizard is a king. So bananas from countries that do not have any value are gaining grounds while we are losing identity. So I think the government should have a rethink. My worry is this. Skameco, what we have here, the services poor, they have appointed in the space of 2 years, 8 different directors. 8. I mean 8 different directors. And they take people who are not business entrepreneurs to manage a business corporation. You take an aviation engineer, you take a civil servant from Enam, who is an administrator, to come and run an entrepreneur. The only person who was an entrepreneur that managed Cameco and the impact was clear was if Michel Fosso. All the rest are Punabe commandant. A pilot running an aviation industry does not make any sense. He is not sent to fly an aircraft. He is sent to manage the entrepreneurial sector of the company, to raise the standard, the finances, the working condition, the customer services. That is not in the brain of an aviation engineer. So the government should rethink and take money and put there who are very smart in CDC. They can put that money in the farms and they will turn things all around. Cameroon is blessed with fertile soil. As a matter of fact, one of the strongest sector of Cameroon is agriculture, and it has been neglected. I don't know the demon that bewitched us to think that oil is better than agriculture. Every country operates in its strength. Before China could enter into technology, China was very strong in agriculture. It was rice cultivation that China started through cultivation of rice that made them to enter into technology. If Cameroon has to enter into the projected technology we are thinking in 2035, then Cameroon has to begin with agriculture, because the strength of this country is the soil.
It is soil. Now, Tah Mai Javis, but we are talking about a company, a giant company that is slowly dying, and we are raising our voices here to talk about it, but we hear very little from local elected officials who are supposed to carry the situation out there. Talk about it until something is done.
You just raised it as though you were inside my mind. That was what I wanted to bring forth as far as this section is concerned. Mr. Yo, let's be factual. First of all, let's look at who are those who have manned this company and have stake in Cameroon and are #1 people in Cameroon. We have the former Prime Minister, former Grand Chancellor of National Order, who managed CDC very well, Peter Mofani Mosonge. He was, I think, one time General Manager of CDC. He did an excellent job, and people applauded his initiative, financial initiative, in which farmers could have loans, could build houses, and the rest. Today, he's very much alive, very powerful, all powerful, and yet CDC is not in his agenda to talk about it as he's crumbling. His legacy is at stake. Today, we have the Prime Minister. I was happy when Mr. Ngwa gave him the accolade. He's from the southwest region of Cameroon, Chief Dr. Joseph Diongote, one of the very few persons who you see will talk anyhow, very reserved and very proactive. CDC is dying under his watch. Today, we have Dr. Dorothy Lunganjoma, who are elite in this area, who have legacy of University of Biya. University of Biya is powerhouse to the agriculture department is powerhouse to supply workers and field technicians. In CDC, today, CDC is dying and these people are very powerful, they are still alive. Senator Mbelamoki in Biya is someone who benefited indirectly or directly from workers of CDC in terms of how they help his administration in expanding Biya, and even some of the construction in Biya. At that time when he was mayor, CDC was very functional in my 18. And today, CDC is dying. They are up there, and I don't know what is in their agenda. Today, Mr. Liu, as we speak, we have young Philemon, former Prime Minister. CDC was extended to Bamenda. CDC is dying. Yet, they are still there. Whether died, whether we cried, whether died, the marketing board we cried, it died. We have the Cameroon Bank, which before then died. We had the Power Camp, died. Today, CDC is dying, and we have top elite, like we have Otto Lisinge, former the MP in Kumba, who is there, Tabo Lawson. CDC is dying. Nobody is saying anything. We have seen concerted effort of elites coming together to say no to this, no to that, but we have not seen that on CDC. We have, when it comes to political agenda, we have seen motion of support, concerted effort to send strong motion of support, strong message against separatist movement, strong message against tribalism, strong messages against the killing of chiefs. We have not seen strong messages about CDC dying, creeping, and crawling. And as far as that is concerned, to them, it seemingly is not their agenda. Where will all these students in the University of Biya, I want the former Vice Chancellor to understand this, her legacy is at stake. Where will they work? The agriculture students, the economic students, the students from journalism who do marketing, the ones who do the geology students, or where will they work? If CDC is dying, we all cannot work under different parastatals. We all cannot. So their legacy is at stake. Will the Prime Minister of this country want to be remembered that under him, CDC died? In fact, died. Will he want to be remembered? Will the former Prime Minister, Peter Mafani Mosongo, who had a legacy about CDC, want to be remembered that he was still active and CDC died? And what would they say? I know a lot of them are talking about the fact that there's a conflict in North and Southwest. There's a Chinese proverb that goes that crisis is an opportunity for us to expand. We have other fertile ground in 8 regions of Cameroon. It is an opportunity to diversify production. Mr. Yo, there is a cabal here. Remember that this crisis started when CDC headquarters, it was rumored that CDC headquarters wanted to move it to Yaoundé. That was when the tussle started, and you see people could not, money could not be pumped into CDC because resistance came in and elites came in. The only way I can applaud them was when that rumor came out that the headquarters wanted to move to Yaoundé. And you know, in Cameroon, when you start getting rumor, start believing, and they fought hard and it stood. Then now, what is happening as it's dying? I want all these MPs, all the same persons who have called their name to understand that we believe in them, we trust them, and we know that when they stand, CDC can stand. When they stay quiet, CDC will die. It is their legacy, whether we like it or not. My professor will stand and proud that I was in UB, University of Biya, and there are people who are working in CDC who graduated from University of Biya, and because of that, the economy is growing. And the same thing that will apply to former Prime Minister Peter Mafani Mosonge. His legacy is at stake. Mr. That cabal needs to be dismantled until these people come up as one voice. I'm expecting that as we speak, they should hold an emergency meeting of the Southwest, Northwest elite, Anglophone elite, and say, let us sit and restructure and see what is happening in CDC, and even visit the general manager of CDC and ask him what are the urgent needs. They are supposed to even do humanitarian services to the workers that are not being paid. Come together as elites, rally money, and give this same person, distribute rights to this person. Let's look for while we look for a long-term solution, there's a short-term solution.
Okay, Nadieh, do you think there are persons there could be a cabal in Yaoundé that may be blocking moves at getting the CDC out of its current situation?
Well, Mr. Kum, you know, one of the problems that erupted to the Anglophone crisis was to the fact that the Anglophones complained that they have natural resources, but they do not benefit from it. That most of the great officials that handle their companies, like the Sonara, the CDC, are from the French-speaking zones.
No, but the CDC has always been manned by...
it has been managed, but now who is managing the CDC?
No, it's a son from Biya, eh?
Yes, Mr. Kum is a son from Biya, but he receives commandment.
Even the board chair is from the Southwest region.
Of course, but he receives commandment from who? From Yaoundé. Commandment comes from Yaoundé. It means he's from the regime. Let me tell you, Mr. Kum, you can never head an important post in this country when you are not from the regime. That's the truth. And let me tell you, one of the problems that erupted to this Anglophone crisis was to the fact that the Anglophones complained that they have natural resources, but they do not benefit from it enough. Like the CDC, like the Sonara and other companies. And now, like Javis said, we had, you know, government officials that are from these zones, like Peter Mafani Musonge, we have John Gute, we have Atanonji. This CDC employs both the people from the region. It means that my this value you can see. Cameroon government because they look around. President signed $54 billion. She injected in a field that is not of a pressing necessity to us,
which is inanimate.
It is an inanimate thing too. And now too, they are talking about the Kameko. They are fighting. It means what? They do not give value to human lives, but they give value to inanimate objects that can bring them benefits, that can fill their pockets, that can, you know, bring them to an extent. Let me tell you, Mr. Liu, you know, this Anglophone crisis has, you know, made the Anglophones being aware that this is our legacy. And if they inject money into this, maybe the Anglophones might rise up and say, this is our legacy. We need to take control over it. And I think the government is afraid of that. So they do not want to inject their money.
Is it controlled by Anglophones?
It is controlled by Anglophones, but the commandment comes from Yaoundé. That's the truth. Those that give commandment that this is supposed to happen comes from Yaoundé. You cannot refuse the fact. So I think that they do not want to inject their money because they are afraid that with this crisis...
Cameroon is a unitary decentralized state.
It is a unity. Cameroon is not a decentralized state, Mr.
As a unitary decentralized state.
Yes, it is. Okay, like I was saying previously, I was saying that this government cannot or do not want to inject money into the CDC because of the Anglophone crisis, and they think that if they inject money into this CDC, the Anglophones might benefit. The Anglophones might, you know, rise up and say, this is our property. We want to control this.
Nadieh, I have been there even in the days of Simo.
Yes.
At the time, there was no Anglophone. CDC already had been a meeting, distress.
It has been creeping and crawling, but we can see from statistics that says that in the previous years, before the Anglophone crisis started, they were proud of exporting 18,000 tons of banana.
Yeah, but
in 2000, it was in difficulties, but it has greatly reduced. It has greatly affected. It is because the Anglophone crisis came to existence. So it has greatly affected. It has crumbled. CDC is indebted with 32 billion.
Yeah, but
why?
Yeah, but we are
because of the Anglophone crisis, and the government was able to inject only 4.1 billion to pay the workers. It is not enough, but they can inject huge sum of money to other companies that are in the francophone zone.
Akwen, do you also
it's in great because if the Anglophone explosion, of the CDC will reduce. I think it is reduced because they see any and this is our problem. There's a lot. This yes, only MPs and the senators, those are my representatives and the national level. They are here by their as a primordial factor. They are 2021 to be a topic that's supposed to be treated as an emergency, because honestly, when you look at CDC, as we are talking here, you look at the number of tonnages, which my co-panelist Akwen is just indicating here. You will not imagine. I take a whole France also blend to an extent. You will not imagine that you see bananas which are produced in Del Monte, when they are labeled CDC, they leave here to Brazil in South America, and they transform it and they get back to France, and you see they are made in France. Bananas produced in France. What fertile soil does France have? Does France produce bananas? Or I mean, honestly, I've been to France. I don't know which part of France is fertile where they can produce any crops until they label bananas coming from Cameroon made in France.
Yeah, but recently we have what is called Makosa banana.
No, but Mr. Kum, honestly speaking, I'm too emotional, and I'm telling you, we're not here to pretend or to take side. We are talking about CDC, which is about, we're talking about, it's limping, and it's high time our government officials take or say into this, that this is an emergency. You go to the world market, our bananas, usually for the past 10 years, bananas coming from Cameroon are graded first in the world market. And you find the labels on them made in France. Now, if Mr. Macron is watching, then he should tell me here which part of France is producing bananas or cultivated.
No, tell the televiewers more about what you want MPs and the senators and other local.
Yes, the unemployment.
You are also elected now.
Yes, of course, I'm an elected official.
Yeah, but you should also tell.
Yes, of course. And not only an elected officials, I equally possess the potential as an employer, which I have the obligations to fight against unemployment and create jobs for Cameroonians. So when I see CDC limping or collapsing, I feel so bad. I'm talking with a heavy heart, because in economic lager balance, this is what we call supply chain management. We don't, CDC cannot stand on its own. You have subcontractors, you have so many Cameroonians benefiting from CDC. When we talk about Anglophones and Southwest, Northwesterners and Southwesterners benefit or being employed, no. You look at the financial director of CDC, it's a francophone. It's a francophone. And I want to agree with my co-panelist Akwen. Yeah, but maybe you people don't understand. The issue here, the irony here is that CDC is being neglected because it's actually in the Anglo-Saxon region, which I think is high time we see into this rescue of CDC. We have mentioned about Cameco. How much money have been injected into Cameco for the previous years? We're talking about the Cameroon shipyard here, which I know there's subsidies which the government keep pumping into the Cameroon shipyard, and so far you have those who are at the helm actually are not quite effective and productive in order to sustain this company. But you find somebody like the GM and the productive or technical managers of CDC, which I personally know their output. These are people who are sustained it. My co-panelist Javis mentioned about Mr. Njelekwan's legacy or Mafani Mesonge legacy. I think Mafani's appointment as Prime Minister came from the output of CDC. That's what projected him. And today, I think he should be having a heavy heart, but just that his hands are tied to come out and sit on the platform and cry. Honestly speaking, yes.
He's a strong man in Cameroon's government.
No, yeah, he's a strong man, my friend.
No, his hands cannot be tied.
You have what they call the Central Processing Unit, the CPU. We all understand this. But this is not the time.
You understand.
Yes, of course. This is not time we have to sit and pretend and fold our arms. If you look how many Cameroonians are sitting back at home, what's the Cameroon government doing to make sure that these Cameroonians who are lose their jobs are sitting back at home? I mean, we are inspiring them to go back into bushes with the president, head of state. Mr. Kum,
he's raising his hands.
Okay,
yeah. The head of state has irritated that Cameroon is one and indivisible, and by so doing, I think there is supposed to be no impartiality. I will agree with Professor Masangamdi, who said certain entourage around the head of state have been taken hostage. They have been taken hostage. Honestly speaking, I agree with him. Because at the end of the day, you will find the reports which are written, President Paul Biya does not tie. They don't tie. They don't tie, honestly speaking. How many we talk about 22,000 plus. How many? I mean, they keep retrenching.
Yep.
And
but when you
look at the World Bank GDP, which has projected in the next 5 to 10 years.
Mr. Mungwa, where do you expect them to work? Also, we should also understand that the separatists, this one to you, the separatists have not also made the situation for the CDC better. It's been difficult because productivity is very low today because many persons are even afraid to work in specific parts of the CDC.
No, please, Mr. Kum, 1 minute before you take over the floor. I am appealing on an extraordinary ordinary General Assembly to be summoned by the board chair of CDC to oversee about the crisis before things go out of hand, and equally calling on the central government, who is giving a deaf ear to the CDC plantation, that they need to inject money and give a lot of subsidies like they're giving. The 55 billion we're talking, how much is it going to provide the Cameroon government or earn Cameroonians or people on the table?
Yes, yeah. Yes.
We cannot deny the fact that the separatist movement has affected the CDC seriously. But the challenge I have is that the Minister of Territorial Administration said recently that President Pobia has won the war. And since he...
Okay, go on.
Can I speak?
Yes, speak, Alesi.
Since the minister made that statement that the president has won the war, I think by winning the war, they have to start reconstructing whatever was lost. My challenge is that this nation does not have value for state corporations. If we understand the impact of state corporation, we are going to bury most of our finances in state corporations that invest in the life of individuals. If you look at nations like Russia, they create state corporations and put it under individuals. In Africa, there's an oil company called Gazprom. It's from Russia. You have Luke Oil. It's from Russia. Those are state-sponsored companies from Russia that is fending for money for other nations to come. Total Cameroon, Bolloré, is state-sponsored companies from France that is building finances for the well-being of the nation. When we start aligning our own state corporations that feed the masses, that employs the masses, that reduces juvenile delinquency, That brings down crime wave, because unemployment, whether we like it or not, is one of the fundamental reasons why there is high crime waves in some countries. When people become jobless, as the proverbial saying goes, an idle mind is a devil's workshop. If the government does not start placing value in investing in state corporation, we are going to suffer in Africa and suffer in Cameroon. CDC, we were not supposed to come on television to start preaching a sermon to convince this government to see the importance and the necessity of CDC as far as the nation Cameroon is concerned.
No, it's very, very vital. What we're preaching is very vital, because
did you get me, sir? Please calm down. What I'm saying is that common sense warrants them to sit and think that we are not supposed to come and be preaching a sermon to convince. They are supposed to know how dangerous it is for CDC to crumble. That's what I'm talking about. You know, one of the things that is killing most African countries is that they believe in the wrong things. They believe in the wrong things. For Cameroon to ever think that they can become prosperous through oil is an error of maximal proportion. Every country has its strengths. The climatic condition and the soil of this country has been rated as one of the best soils in the world, not in Africa. And this issue of we trying to focus on something that we don't even have strength in is a serious problem. If Angola is counting on oil, and then Niger is counting on uranium, and then Botswana is counting on diamond, Cameroon should boast of the soil.
It's just that we have competitive advantage and absolute edge.
That's what we're talking about. Oh, yeah. And if you don't know how to play to your strength, you'll be a laughing stock. We should not brag about oil. Cameroon has no oil as compared to Angola. We don't brag about uranium. We don't have uranium as compared to Niger. We should not brag about diamond. We don't have diamond as compared to Botswana. What Cameroon is known for distinction in years past, in the days of Ahijo till date, has been its soil. And if we don't lay emphasis in investing where our strength is, we are going to be rigmaroling with the economy. Look at Uganda. Uganda discovered oil very recently. And I'm going to make you understand that this mentality that oil has the highest source of income is a big lie. China does not have oil. China's strength was rice. Not even the kind of numerous crops we produce in Africa here. So if Cameroon does not actually understand the value of its strength and allow a corporation like CDC, which is operating from the angle of its strength, to crumble, then I don't think the authorities in place understand where their strength is. All of us seated on this platform, everybody has a uniqueness. And in that uniqueness is where you beat others. And if you don't know that uniqueness and invest in it more, you try to place strength in another person's strength, you'll be defeated. You cannot be born an original, you die a photocopy. You don't live number two where you're supposed to be number one. Cameroon in Africa and the world is a force to reckon when it comes to agriculture. Now, the lone corporation in Cameroon that drives the agricultural sector in terms of banana, in terms of cocoa, in terms of rubber, in terms of palms, is being shaken. It is not supposed to be a panel discussion to try and convince the government the necessity of investing. It's just like trying to tell the people from Greece that they should invest in Pomme de France. That's their only strength. That's what grows in Greece, and that's their major export. So you are telling the Israelites to invest in horticulture and tomato market gardening. Their strength in the desert is agriculture, and Israel export highest tomato and flowers in the world. So you don't tell somebody to play to his strength. He must automatically know where his strength is. So for us to come on television and be telling and encouraging government to pump money in CDC, and then they are pumping money in air. Ethiopia does not have good soil. That's why they are investing in the air. They have 100 aircraft. How many aircraft do we have? How many aircraft? Rwanda came recently in the aerospace business. They have had 18 aircraft recently. Their strength is what? Their strength is not in the air. I think we should understand where our strength is. Cameroon should know where its strength is. Our strength is in agriculture. In the days of when we have all the cooperative societies in Cameroon, you see parents are the one that determine the price of cocoa and coffee and the rest. Since this regime came and began closing down all those cooperative societies, parents have not been able to even enjoy in the same production of cocoa and coffee they were producing at first. So I think this idea of us understanding the essence and the importance of state cooperation should be taught and properly, imbibed into the very minds of Cameroonians. You don't tell a Russian man what is the importance of gas. He knows his strength. Russia controls gas in the whole of Europe. Who controls Africa and agriculture? Cameroon. There's no fertile nation in this continent more than Cameroon. None.
So we are not making use of our sorry. Good evening to you, Terence Nebangu, watching from America, and to you, Anu Onkafu Song N. Derrick says greetings to the panel. Good evening to you too. And to you, Anita Eno says, why not bail out by the government if CDC was falling before the war? The bias to the Southwest and Northwest Corporation besides Sonara. Osha Blink Baby, good evening to you. Mohammed Baba from Georgia, good evening to you. Bisong Abang, Tiko Mamfe, good evening to you. Bill Mark Stone, good evening to you. Edimo Joseph, good evening to you. And to you, Arnold Schwartz, good evening to you. Nju Nyonga, Rob Mbato, you say in Jungong, Robert in the UK, good evening to you. Christopher Batu Mani, good evening to you. Fufeng Bruno Zakaria Ashum, good evening to you. David and Chamba, Christopher Batu Mani, good evening to you. Tita Julius, and to you. King Mbila, JF Faith Temba Nick, good evening to you. JB Webster, and to you, Cliff Dayang, and Kai Kum, good evening to you. Bama Benis, and to you, Agu Rugel Tembeng, Elvis Fomukon, good evening to all of you guys, and to you, Ta Rusu, and to everybody watching on social media. I want to take time to really greet all of you today. Now, let's look at the CDC and political parties. Is this not also a subject that political parties should take up as an agenda instead of talking about Paul Biya from morning to night? Say we want the CDC alive. Is this not a topic that political parties should take up?
Thank you for this question. Again, I want to do a quick interjection to Mr. Ngwa, since he is equally a member of a political party, the CPDM, saying the board member of the board chair of CDC should call for an executive or emergency meeting and discuss the crisis in CDC. It's like telling us that Francis Nguni Ekome, alongside with all the beautiful brains in CDC, they are feeling like the crisis is CDC management. No, the crisis is not the management of CDC. So if you are saying that you call the board chair, call a meeting and talk about the crisis, if you are selling a message that it's like a crisis, they are not managing the company well. No, Nguni Ekome and all the beautiful men and women who have been working in CDC, I think they are the best as far as this is concerned. Now, coming to the crux of the matter, the question should be, I'm happy Mr. Ngwa acknowledged the fact, he said, Peter Mafani Mosonge, His Excellency Peter Mafani Mosonge, his hands are tied. Tied by who? Tied by who? He is a member of the Central Committee of CPDM. And all the people I called a while ago are members of CPDM. SDF is the stronghold of SDF is the North and Southwest region. SDF has a stronghold in Biya. What are they doing? The same thing with the various political parties. The worst is the CPDM, the ruling party that controls this area. We saw in the just ended municipal elections, parliamentary elections, we saw in the presidential election how CPDM secured a good number of votes in this area. I want to applaud them. They did very well. It therefore means that they have a greater role than any other political party in the sustainability, maintenance, progress, growth, and development of Common Development Corporation as far as it's creeping and crawling. So if CDC is falling, by that default, we should hold CPDM responsible because these same persons voted massively. In fact, it gave them massive turnout during the parliamentary, legislative, and municipal election, except they want to tell us that it was otherwise, which they should tell us that. The same thing we should expect from the SDF MPs. SDF MPs, instead of signing petition that they should deport a lot of people, asylum seekers abroad, these same SDF MPs should sign a petition and question why CDC is creeping and crawling, and the same government is standing by and watching it. So, to me, Mr. Leo, the problem now is Mr. Ngwa should go after this panel and tell his same CPDM legislators, those whom we massively voted for them in Southwest and Northwest region, that we who voted for them massively, we are massively telling them that CDC is massively failing, that they should massively take our vote and discuss this issue so that CDC should not massively fail. And I want Mr. Ngwa to understand that the problem is not the management of CDC. The problem, it is the extended factor which he acknowledged, that the hands are tied. Who tied it? Now, their Prime Minister is our son and from the Southwest region. We all see how right motion to support the people of Fako East, Meme West, this center, Fako North, that. Even in Moyoka, where we have rubber plantations of CDC, Moyoka voted massively. Look at the vote. So in Moyoka voted massively for CDC. It means that there were people, and there are people who are living in that area who are unemployed, and they voted because they wanted that whoever is representing them should take that message and say that CDC is creeping and crawling. Mr. Joe, even at this level, let's say their hands are tied. Are their hands tied to carry out humanitarian gestures to support those who are working for CDC and don't have food to eat, who are not being paid? Mr. Joe, I feel pain sometimes when I stay for 4 days when my salary has not been paid. Not to talk of someone who have been for 1 year, 2 years, 3 years, and has a child sent to school, has a child to feed, and has a wife at home, and is possibly renting, and has a landlord to face, and this same person, you can just imagine the triple effect. Now, what the elite should do, what I expect these political parties to do, they should do coup de coeur, financial coup de coeur, and say that, okay, let's rally certain amount of money and even visit.
No, we've seen political parties are calling for manifestations for particular issues.
But not on humanitarian.
But why are you not calling on them to call for manifestations to save CDC?
I have just said it. I said it here that we've seen motion of support. We've seen the rallying issues talking about no to separatist movement.
No, not just for the CPDM. I'm talking about across the board.
No, I talked about SDF.
Recently, we know that the MRC was gathering people to manifest for.
I talked about SDF. I talked about the fact that SDF should take that lead because SDF is a stronghold of SU. We are looking at whoever the stronghold of two political parties is CPDM and SDF. CRM is struggling to get its in Northwest and Southwest region. The same thing, since it's a Cameroon issue, let them come in. It's not just an issue.
MPs, they say MPs have said MPs for the nation now. Lambert NJPC, good evening to you and to you, Ayang Miranda. Arnold Schwartz, good evening to you, Ekoge, Kenneth and Jack. Good evening to all of you, great guys out there. Now, they say MPs are MPs for the nation. CDC is a national corporation, Cameroon, that is stake here. Have we heard enough from MPs from the Fan region, from the South region, from the other regions to show that they are concerned about a possible collapse and dismantling of the CDC?
Yes, Mr. Kum, I love your question because MPs are elected and
they say they are MPs for the nation.
They are MPs for the nation.
That's what we are told.
The truth is, the MPs of Cameroon are just there to propose and they are not there to impose, because when they bring out a topic, they go on a vote. The ruling party, which is the CPDM, owns nearly all the seats. We have the PCRN that has only 5 seats. Now, if the PCRN decides to bring this at the table, will it be accepted? No. That is why I am calling on all the political parties to be united on issues that greatly affect Cameroon. Because the problem in Cameroon is that political parties they are not on one term. They do not come together to speak with words. They are dispersed. Everybody is attracted to what his interest ties to. That is the problem. Because if all the MPs of Cameroon dispatch their political families, the PCRN, the MRC, the SD, and even the party comes out and say enough is enough. CDC, it's a legacy for all Cameroonians. It is a legacy that has brought out Cameroon as one of the first countries that import the greatest banana and the best that exports the greatest banana and the best banana in the world. So now, how can they neglect this legacy that has benefited everybody. Because Mr. Kum, it has not only benefited those from the Northwest and Southwest, it has benefited the whole of Cameroon. Because the fact that you go out of the country and you are being identified as a country that produces the best banana, it's a glory to you. So I think that this and the parliamentarians which you have are supposed to bring this on the table. They are supposed to say that we have a pressing problem. We should stop giving interest in things that do not bring inputs in the economy of Cameroon. Things are not valuable. Because Mr. Kum, I heard how my co-panelist said, Peter Mafani Musonge's hands are tied. Indeed, right. Because this CDC, it's a problem. It is a company that is in the iPhone zone. Now, if somebody as a humanitarian person gets up and say, I want to invest, I want to bring up, because we have students in Cameroon that are very rich, they might want to put money to be able to revive this company. Will the government accept? No. The government will deny. They will say you are trying to show, you're trying to measure your powers with this government. Because recently I decided to do a humanitarian work for the IDPs, and they will ask you to go and do una pesa declaration. These are things that really handicap Cameroonians. These are things that does humanitarians to bring out their efforts to be able to revive this CDC. Because we have people that are willing, that are having the good heart to revive this place, but the government will not allow you, and they too do not want to do the job. As my co-panelist said, we are supposed to come and sit and debate on this issue. Mr. Kum, common sense is not common. This government always wants to be criticized before they do things correctly. If you not push them, they will not move. They are stagnant people. They always put the wrong people at the right place. That is the problem. So I am calling on all the MPs to be able to see that this CDC is a legacy for every Cameroonian. This CDC has blessed all Cameroonians, and they should see this as a pressing problem and decide to come to unity despite their political families and table out this issue that is very pressing to all Cameroonians.
Mr. Ngwa, you've been taking down notes since. I don't know what you're writing, but I'm sure you agree with what Javis. I'm sure you.
Yeah, of course, I totally agree. I've told you that I'm sitting here not to take sides, because I'm talking with a heavy heart. I'm so upset and pissed off.
Some people are writing that
with the management of what is happening in CDC. Honestly, you agree with me that there's a general repercussion which is affecting the whole world today. If you look scientifically and biologically, it is advisable in order to sustain or your lifespan, consume at least one banana a day. One banana a day. But today, our bananas which were being widely consumed are the best way of all the people rush to get. That's not the case. But he cannot with here because the press and media is considered as the fourth power in every economy in the world, and so far your voice my media is there. We our voices are being our grievances, our worries into it. Gets back honestly, actually has zero was saying how that the in power is one of the strongest facts which I know. He has lost. He 5 he has and he is from his farms. So he doesn't care. I mean, the person he owns or the car is wearing today, he met someone there, and tomorrow, anytime he can allow it. And I trust that with his position and powers today, the possibility which have been given to him, he should oversee of government, and I know he is working on it. And not too long from now, I think CDC is going to get back its strength and go back to production, because you can imagine some of the workers of the CDC must have joined the guys in the bushes, the boys in the bushes. Who knows? Yes. Yeah, that is clear. You can't tell. Yes. But if the CDC actually was productive, and we know they were recruiting almost everywhere. We're talking about 30 billion francs CFA, which CDC makes as production income every month. But today, CDC is unable to produce or make a balance sheet of 1 billion francs CFA. Then what do you expect? Okay.
What do we expect? Eno Agbo, writing from Germany. Nothing good can come from this CPDM regime. Okay, Valentine.
That's his opinion.
Valentine Agbo says, in an attempt to know why things are unfolding the way they are, with the state authorities and union leaders, particularly of the agricultural sector. The above document was generally established by both parties. Valentine Tah Agbo, the owners of the corporation called C have simply neglected it. That's why it's limping. Okay, Valentine Tah Agbo, good evening. Okay, we hope that when next we are talking on this, you should come on board. Mr. Ewane from St. Francis Kumba, CDC has done so much for this nation and beyond, yet it's undoubtedly neglected because the government is being the government. No, the panelists are knowing CDC by experience is the best form to feel. The prince watching this company fall to dust. I watch have CDM severally as they claim electoral victory from this area. What else can I say? Good evening, Mr. Liu, and to the other panelists. Okay, good evening to you all. Cameroon has no interest in strengthening the CDC the same way she has no interest in whatever how to benefit the people of the Southwest and Northwest regions. They know deeply well that the people fight for restitution. Okay, and Prince Justice from Biya. Good evening to you, Prince Justice. So Akara says, good evening, dear panelists. The CDC is not the government of Cameroon that owns it. It's owned by the President of the Republic. Okay. Good evening to you guys. Pascal, are you watching from United Kingdom? Good evening to you. Good evening to you guys in the studio, Mr. Liu. My evening are always good when you are on board. I love your program. It's Elvis Brown, right from Shell, New Bell. Good evening to you, my brother. Hello, Mr. Kum and crew. I enjoy your program. Greetings to one of the powerful ladies in the house. The development in Anglophone community is not just at the level of CC, but the entire West Cameroon. The government is supposed to invest over here. Yeah, that's an eventual second. Okay. Renee, writing from Bingo in Com. Esther, writing from Yaoundé, says, good evening to you people. Nice program. Mr. Lee, whenever the topic comes up, I always feel too bad because my father works in rubber factory in Tico. I am a CDC child. Good evening to you, Esther. Good evening. Amboa Liombe, watching from the Tico. CDC is taking care of the whole Cameroon, not only Anglophones. The government needs to come in so that CDC should not crumble. CDC is in the Anglophone region. That's why the government has abandoned the CDC. Hello, it is Samuel Agbo speaking from Yaoundé. Pastor Ambe, he speaks. Okay, Felix says, Mr. Leo, good evening. The amount of money spent just for the Olympics team alone is enough to survive the CDC. The assimilation plan began far before even Biya came to power. The closure of WADA, Marketing Board, PowerCam, Cameroon Bank, etc. is the main strategy strategy of weakening Anglophone economically. Okay, the government is happy CDC is closing since it falls in line with the assimilation plan. Mr. Leo, look at the concern they gave Sonara after the fire incident. Kameko and Chantier Naval. Forget about any, okay? Tik Felix in Biya. Mba Arnott in Douala says, lady is speaking since unfortunately the current regime doesn't care about Cameroonians, okay? Good evening, Mr. Kum. Your panelists, if the so-called parliament or whatever is expected to act cannot act on what caused the CDC to crumble, they cannot pop to act revamping the CDC. Boni writing from Boya. Boni, good evening, Mr. Liu, and my regards to panel members. I am happy with Apostle Ambe's analysis. Please tell him that his new title is Dr. Apostle Ambe. Cliff Fofun writing from Bamenda. Cliff. Good evening, Mr. Liu and crew. I'm enjoying the show. It's Shuka writing from Bamenda. Bakuma Peter, good evening to you in the studio. Keep on the good work. Mr. Leo, we behind you. Thank you very much. Mwa writing from York says, hi, Mr. Leo, I deeply appreciate your concern about the development of our beloved country. The fact is that the regime in power has a hidden plan to systematically cripple the economic potential in our regions. Okay. Good evening, Mr. Liu. Your program is a good one. Keep up, Mr. Liu, watching from Bamida. Good evening, Mr. Liu. I'm enjoying your program. Keep it on. Boris writing from Yaoundé. Good evening, Mr. Kum and the panelists. Have you asked yourself how many companies, okay, how many companies that have been wiped out in English Cameroon regions? They don't care. Ngbanti writing from Bonge. Apostle B, yes, I want you to talk about opposition political parties who have taken up the CDC as their core topic of discussion, that is mobilizing national, the entire nation for the CDC course. But do you think that CDC falls within those domains in considered as an emergency case?
Of course. There is no an emergency case before they ask everybody, but not part of the government.
Okay.
I think we have to differentiate that. Those of us who are here, we are concerned. The masses are concerned. From the messages, the response we are getting all over the nation, people are concerned about the CDC. But is the government that's supposed to fund the CDC? Is the government concerned? That is a challenge you have. Because if you are concerned about, or you have a worry on something, the first thing you have to do is to take practical steps in order to resolve the problem. Nothing has been mentioned so far as the CDC is concerned. The government has not taken any practical step to resolve the challenge of the CDC. You made a statement about political parties and MPs here. I have a little worry with when we want to generalize the subject of MPs, because in the actual sense, MPs are elected for the whole nation, but not the Cameroonian concept. The Cameroonian concept, MPs are elected for their constituency.
No, but all Cameroon MPs will tell you that they are an MPs for the nation.
You have to understand my statement. In the actual sense, MPs are elected for the whole nation, but in the Cameroonian mentality,
they work for their constituency.
MPs are elected for their constituency. That's the raw truth. I have sat close to parliamentarians. You hear them saying things only around the environment to win the attention of those who are going to vote them for the next election. They are not even working there for the interest of the people. They are working there to win the attention for the next term in office, which means everybody cuts a particular sector of the country who is elected, shows a little concern in that area, preparing for the next tenure in office, and is not bothered about the whole nation. That's the reason why I said there the last time that when something is affecting the northwest and the southwest negatively, it is called nozo. When it is affecting the nation positively, it is called unity Cameroon. No some le Camerounais when it is the cocoa and the coffee and the oil and the rubber. But when it comes to killing Anglophones in that particular region, it is nozo, northwest and southwest. Why are the MPs of other regions, like in the north, we have the places like Diamare, we have Faro Idiu, we have Bayo Dana, Mayo Chanaga, Mayo Kani. You have Lom Njerem, you have Lom Panga in the east. You have Ja Elobo, Sang Malima, Vomeka. You have MPs from those areas. Have you ever seen any of them come on television to say what is happening to the northern and south people? We are not comfortable with it. No, you will hear them say, nous avons construit un canal. Chez nous là-bas et à Lom Njerem. Voilà comment le député travaille. Il a fait un rigole ici à Lom Panga. That is a constituency mentality. It is not a national mentality. So if we are talking about MPs rising up to face the issue of CDC, then I think if we want to centralize within the constituency, we are going to hold all the MPs of FACO, the MPs of Meme. Those are the first prime suspects. The senators of those areas, the elites of those areas, and even the traditional rulers of those areas should be held responsible because they contribute pivotally to the growth of everything in that particular area. Do you think if all these people I have called, the MPs, the senators from FACO, Meme Division, the chiefs so far, and then they stand up and say, we are tired of this nonsense concerning CDC, we want to see an end to this nonsense, it will easily give attention to the head of state, knowing fully well that all the stakeholders that happen to defend the regime in the southwest region are crying for something, not for separation. They are not crying for separation. They are not crying for decentralization. They are not crying for federation. They are crying for something that is benefiting their own very masses. If these people cannot even submit to something which is legal, can they even defend something that they seem to consider illegal? Because they consider separation as illegal. Now they cannot even defend something which is legal. That is a corporation, a state corporation that employs people, that increases per capita income, that gives opportunity for jobs. Then we are sitting as elites. Elected, you go FACO Royal, FACO East, FACO West, you have MPs. Meme, you have MPs. You have mayors who are elected equally. And most of those people, they are born out of CDC. Those MPs, their fathers and mothers work in CDC to send them to school. Now, a generation is coming from behind who has to go through school through that same CDC. Now, they are quiet because the CDC is facing challenge. How do you explain if the people who are in that constituency have not opened their mouth to speak? Is this an MP from Faro Edio, Mayo Danai, Mayo Chanaga, Mayo Kani, Diamare in the north, or is it from Lompanga or Lom Njerem, or is it from Nangai Boko, or is it from Vomeka or Sangmalima or Ja Elobo, that they will leave their own constituencies to come and talk about what FACO has not? Listen, it's a man that puts on the shoe, knows where it's pinching. I think at this level, this thing was supposed to have pinched all those elites in the southwest, beginning from their councillors, to parliamentarians, to regional councillors, to regional chiefs, to house of chiefs there, and senators. They were supposed to have rallied and say, we are writing a motion of support for CDC, not for president to stay again in power for another 36 years. Because every time there's an election, FACO chief conference has given a motion of support. FACO deputies have given a motion of support for the president to be re-elected. Let us write a motion of support for CDC to be reconstructed. If at all they are saying that Anglophone crisis has been the pivotal weapon used to bring down CDC, I can tell you that even the weapon that we're talking against, the Anglophone crisis, cannot stop the CDC. The CDC had been crumbling earlier before the crisis. That's not something we are going to be beating around the bush. So I think if the crisis only came, it only came to increase what has already been earlier in the CDC in some areas. Now, to conclude, do you mean to tell me that in the course of the Anglophone crisis, that have been selling oil, that have been transporting oil from Pamo to Douala to sell? Why did the crisis not stop sale of oil? Why did the crisis not stop the extraction of? Don't they still sell rubber? They sell rubber. So the prices cannot grow rubber, but it can sell rubber. It cannot grow oil, it can sell oil. It cannot grow banana, it can sell banana. Does that mean that Southern Cameroon has become Libya, where guns are flying the streets of Tripoli, Sabah, and then they are unable to bring down the guns, and they're extracting oil from the same land where gun is fighting? Let us know very well that every time gun is flying in a particular environment, positive things are equally taking place in that environment. They should not tell us that gun is flying north and southwest while they are still selling palm there. They remove palm oil from here where military is protecting. It's not protecting fire, protecting the factories. The military protects the oil mill in Lobe. It protects the oil mill in Mondoni. It doesn't protect the farms. So they have a military to protect what they will sell. they don't have immunity to what they can grow. They should not convince us we are no longer babies in this country. It should be considered.
Okay.
I think it's a shame that we are crying that the economy is not moving. Why we have 22,000 plus Cameroonians who possibly could be paying taxes to their tax to the government. They are not paying their tax because they are not being paid. Remember that all workers, whether you are private or government, you pay your tax. Your salary comes with tax that are deducted from it. So we are therefore these same persons are owing the state a certain amount of money, which the state itself should have invested for these people to pay. Mr. Leo, I want to equally add to what Senior Apostle said. When you look at the what we call in journalism as proximity, the canons for news, you look at proximity. That is, if 100 people dies or if they die in Nigeria, it's not going to be a kind of much of an impact of someone in Biya if 50 people are reported dead in Biya. So that proximity has a key role to play. In essence, what am I saying? I'm saying that if MPs in government guys, he was calling and all those from the south regions, those from the east, far north and north, Adamawa, even littoral regions, if they are complaining, it will not be that much of an effect as if a chief or chiefs in southwest and north, southwest, northwest, and of course those within the proximate area comes and lay a motion of no support to CDC, not to CPDM. To me, we should ask ourselves that what are the chiefs themselves doing in this part of the deal? Because you remember, the chiefs are instead facilitating the seeding of land to sell for newly out so that they can build their homes and they can sell the lands for construction. Instead, chiefs are there fighting CDC land than to fight for the reconstruction of CDC and maintenance of CDC. It's a shame. To me, when I look at chiefs who pride themselves as chiefs should pride themselves that CDC is in their locality. We are clamoring that those boys in the bushes should leave the bushes and come to town. Where will they work? CDC should be an avenue for integration. Those at the DIA center, where are you going to integrate them if they have to work? CDC is one of the integration centers where you can easily facilitate them because they may not need skills. They already have the skills of farming, they have the skills of other things, maybe the skills of working in the factory and the rest, security and the rest and the rest and the rest. If they are to be integrated, where will they be integrated? Let's start looking at possibilities of asking these questions and asking the refugees in Nigeria. We want them to come. If they are coming, those who are working at Lobe, those who are in Pamo, where will they work? If this area is not functioning effectively, it's a ripple effect, as Senior Apostle put it from his introductory statement. It's a ripple effect. It's not just a one-chain effect. My plea for CPDM, SDF, PCRN, and the rest is that they should start looking for a way to form a coalition, not for dialogue, but a motion of support to the sustainability, growth and development of Cameroon's Development Corporation, because it is not Anglophone Development Corporation, it is not Southwest Development Corporation, it is Cameroon Development Corporation. And MP in this constituency, they have a role to play, but the chiefs themselves, they have a role to play. Look at, we used to have a CDC factory in my 18. It's no longer there. Now it has been seeded out, so the land, and start looking at all those areas. You ask yourself, where are this land, why are they being given? Because chiefs are fighting the lands of CDC than fighting for employment of CDC. All those children who are in the University of Biya, their chiefs, where will they work if all those lands are seeded, if the lands are seeded and given to you?
Nadieh, what else has to happen within the CDC to catch government's attention, to know that it is time for government to act?
Mr. Kum, the question is very pertinent. As my co-panelist said, that it is those that are elected in these zones, the MPs, the mayors, that are supposed to cry first, because you cannot leave your house dirty and think that your neighbor will come and sweep your house for you. Jacques Biot sang that balayez votre cou, laissez pour le voisin. That is what the MPs of this nation are practicing. It means what? They work for their own constituency and leave the order of the others. That is what is happening. Now the problem is, most of these MPs that are from the Anglophone zones, like in Limbe, in the southwest, where where the CDC is located are members of the parliament that are in the CPDM, the ruling party. And the truth is, you cannot separate the government from the CPDM. You cannot distinguish both of them in this our government, in this Cameroon, because they are always, the things are mixed together. You cannot separate them. Now the problem is, if these MPs, if these chiefs, if these mayors decide to rise up and say, we want the CDC to rise up again, won't they be termed as separatist fighters? Won't they be termed as les ennemis de la nation? That's the issue. They are there. They understand the problems that is in the Anglophone zones, but their hands are tied. They are having what we call, la ligne de conduite. Because anybody that dares to talk about the Anglophone problems and what is eating the Anglophone becomes a taboo. You are a problematic. You become an enemy de la nation. That is the truth. So these MPs from these zones cannot talk. They are voiceless. They know that these things are happening. They know that the CDC is crumbling. They have benefited from this, but they cannot voice out because they are having what we call la ligne de conduite. They are working according to what the government tells them, according to what Biya tells them to say. If you say something that goes in accord with these zones, they will call you a separatist fighter.
Is that what President Paul Biya said? That you must say what I say?
Mr. Kum, you will not disagree with me that in this government, with the CPDM, you work according to what you say what they want you to say. You do what they want you to do. You act as they want you to act. If not, they will push you outside. They will do the LLL. On te lèche, et on t'abandonne. That is what is happening with the CPDM regime. That is the truth. These MPs, these mayors, these deputies, all of these people, elected officials from these zones, are members of parliament, are officials, elected officials of the CPDM. They cannot go against their ideology, if I can say. They cannot go against their ligne de conduite. They know that these things are problematic, but they cannot say anything. Their hands are tied, Mr. Kum. And I think that the other MPs from the other zones cannot come and talk. Because if you do not sweep your house, your neighbor will not sweep for you. And that is why the attention of the government or of the regime, because they control everything, is not being centered on these things, because those that are supposed to speak out are not speaking and they are cold. So the government thinks it is not important. It is not a pressing issue for them to table out at this moment.
Let him just come in briefly, yeah.
Mr. Leo, parliamentary grants for every MP is 8.5 million. Let's consider there are 20 parliamentarians in the Fako constituency. Multiply it times 8.5 million.
No, they are not up to 20.
No, let's give
an example.
Let's give them.
Yeah, it's just an assumption he's making.
Multiply it times 20 for 5 years. I want to ask that is that 8.5 million for 5 years? That's 40 million per parliamentarian times 20 people. It's giving like how much? 40 million, 400 million. Is it 400 million for 5 years that they want to waste an association, an organization that controls 318 billion? Let's do mathematics here. We need to tell me these parliamentarians are afraid to lose that 8.5 million or 40 million to jeopardize a corporation that controls 318 billion, 715 million francs CFA. I'm asking that we will go to school, back thesis, spend money, obtain degrees, and then come back and sell that knowledge for a salary that is not compared to the money we paid for the thesis and the defense. A man will go to school, obtain doctorate degree, knows the truth. When he comes into the system, they buy that brain with a salary that is not compared to all what he has learned for almost about 25 years. So 318 billion should disappear because of 400 million. Why don't they? Listen, she said something. She said they will start accusing them that they are trying to stand as Ambazonians or separatists. My friend, a simple way to do that thing is just to walk out of that parliament. Walk out of it, and then when they call your attention, tell them that we are not walking out because we want to separate the country. We are walking out of the parliament because we want CDC's case to be given attention to. There is nowhere in parliament where you are shut up not to bring up a topic. The only solution to that particular challenge is to walk out of the parliament. If a group of parliamentarians say 6 or 7 walk out, it will threaten the state, because once the international body realizes that immune members of a state have walked out of a glass house, it triggers an international attention very fast.
Yes, Mr. Amungwa.
Yeah, thank you again once more, Mr. Kum. You see, I hope we are, it's becoming more interesting that we are seemingly on the same boat.
I don't think so.
Oh yeah, no, first of all, directed blames to my political and party hierarchies. I called on the attention of the MPs and the senators who are being elected to be at the national level to defend the interests of the people at the local level. I am an elected official at the local level. To come back to where my co-panelist Madam Akwen did make sure we have a lane the conduit, we have an obligation. I am holding the position of project and transport chairman at the municipality of Mezam 5, and I don't see where I have obligation. There were no strings and which are attached to my office or that committee which I spearhead. So we should not voice out issues regarding the organigram of opponent parties where we don't have mastery. What I'm talking here is I'm still irritating and calling on my political hierarchies, MPs. Honestly speaking, it is high time you people wake up. This is the highest, the legislative is the strongest organ that makes or project an image of each economy. And where the legislative organ is weak, then the economy of that country is doomed to fail, because you people are the voices of the voiceless. I contribute immensely. I can recall I was being molested and undergone shots when I was to cast votes for my national representative, the MP for my constituency. And today I am proud of him. It's true that he has been carrying a lot for Tuba Bafut constituency. And I'm calling and urging on all other MPs to do same. They should be able to carry the worries and the voices of the local people at the national level and make sure they come back and give them the votes they deserved by giving them that trust. So MPs and senators, they have a vital role to play. It is not President Paul Biya at this juncture, because he has done all in his capacity at this juncture to make sure he fulfill. We are talking about regional regional councillors at this juncture, which you have countries like Ivory Coast and many others. They have been several years ahead of us. Cameroon is one of the countries which is recently embracing the decentralization process by getting regional councillors involved. So yes, accelerated. So other countries have been far ahead of us, and so far we have a vital role to play for the economic growth of our communities. So we should stop directing blames to each and other, but we should be looking on how we can contribute immensely for the economic growth of our localities, of our country. If Cameroon, we accept, is one and indivisible, then each and everyone. I am calling on all Cameroonians who are watching right now, based on the situation of CDC, most especially, that it is constitutional. Each and everyone is allowed, every Cameroonian, irrespective of party rank, party colors, is allowed to move into a public liability company like CDC and carry out evaluation and assessment and publicize and criticize. It is constitutionally allowed. So I think if we are here and we are blaming Peter, Paul, is and all not, we have the duty of collective effort. If we have to work as a team, as a unity, to make sure we move forward, then I think by the time 2-3 people or a collective report comes out of CDC and it is publicized and protested by the masses, then certainly we are the face of the crisis of CDC must have a change.
Okay, yeah, Nadieh, Akwen, similarly, you have something to add?
Yes, because I heard my co-panelist say that in his party, actually, he can denounce anything he wants. The truth is, you can denounce at the local level, but the CPDM barons, those that sit and take decisions in your party, are those that create impact. I don't think your cry at the local level can affect the Comité Central in your party. No, it does not affect Mr. I don't know your name. It cannot, Mr. Ngwa. It cannot affect Amungwa. It cannot affect the Comité Central. It is a Comité Central that decides on what that will happen. Yeah, even in your communication, that's the same thing. And the problem with this regime is that he said we should do collective efforts to be able to revive the CDC. Yes, there are good willing people who can, want to help the CDC. But the policy in place cannot permit us to do these things. Why? Because if you try, they will tell you are a separatist fighter. They will tell you turn ennemi de la paix. They will tell you what is your interest. Because, Mr. Kum, any talk about the Northwest and Southwest crisis is a taboo at this period in Cameroon. No, if you dare venture, it is the truth. Those are the truth. We should not come to a plateau to deceive our viewers. The truth is, if you dare to rise up and say something about the Northwest and Southwest crisis as an individual, you are a taboo. That's the truth. So we cannot do efforts if the government do not give us policies, do not give us a favorable grounds to be able to help the CDC. Okay. In our own free will. That's the truth.
Mr. Yo, I think if we look at the table, last time we had a similar crisis in University of Biya, the land in University of Biya, and you look at it did not take up to a week. It was quickly resolved thanks to the intervention of His Excellency Churchill, alongside others. Barrister Ngongi, a lot letters went, and the Prime Minister instantly reacted, and UB calm. We had calm now in UB as far as the land issue is concerned, and CDC, which we have been singing left and right, is still an issue. Mr. Liu, look at, we have had a lot of communiques from Southwest youths and supporters of no or to this. Southwest, we the Northwest youth say no to this, we the Southwest youth say no to this, but we have not had a joint letter of we the Southwest and Northwest youth say no to the abandonment of CDC. Yes, we want that the government should intervene in CDC. We have not had that. And these are the same people who are badly affected as far as CDC creeping and crawling nature is concerned. I want to hear one day that we the Southwest and Northwest youth, those from Way village where I come from, those from Kumbo, those from South Fako, Munya where I live, should come up together and sign a strong communique as they always do for other issues, and say we the sons and daughters of Biya, of Widikum, of Gokitunja, of Way, ones that CDC should be deeply looked into. We need that action, but we don't see it. A grievous action was taken for UB. That action can be taken. There's nothing about hands are tied. Nobody hands. There's no hand that's tied. Mr. Mungwa, you said it here that there's no rule that is laid down for CPDM to follow. So we should not hear that hands are tied. Your hands are free. So whoever is leading those youths should understand that the youth in Fako, the youth in Meme, the youth in all the other areas in Gokitunja, Lebia, Lembui should come together and team up and form a front and say that their head of state, His Excellency President Paul Biya, if this elite are not giving you the truth, we want to tell you the truth. We are those who are working in this sector and we need jobs. If CDC go down, we will not have jobs. So His Excellency, you are a father that creates jobs and you have been talking about job creation. Let CDC be looked into. We shall have jobs and the matter will be resolved.
Yeah, Javis, just before 1 minute. Just to add more light to what you just said, honestly speaking, if you look critically, so far the case of the Kribi port, you look at the Kribi port, if you look at geosciences and you would not explain, not give any tangible reasons why CDC port is existing today, of which Limbe port was supposed to be created. Limbe is a natural deep sea port which are supposed to be created, constructed, and render production and income to the state today. But so far, I trust that the Southwesterners elites were not unanimous, they were not collective, they were not determined to see into it, that because there was already a planned issue. I will still refer the case of the Cameroon shipyard and industrial engineering, where that company was supposed to possess the first shipyard in West and Central Africa. The World Bank was already ready the budget was 350 billion, which Cameroon government was just to come in with 5% of that budget. But at the end of the day, when they started the project, for some political maneuvers, you find the former general manager of Fonjinam is lavishing somewhere, and within 1 year, Cameroon government ran at a deficit of 900 billion, which you cannot justify. And you find 8 other general managers have been appointed and nothing is working. But the government keeps pumping money, giving subventions to that company. Why not do same to CDC? And why has the Limbe port not been constructed? Up to now, we talk. If you have to look at the cost of a ship sailing from Limbe to Equatorial Guinea, Gabon, or whatsoever, it flies. It says at a maximum 30 nautical miles. And then you look at a same ship who leaves Krebe port to the same distance covering Gabon or Equatorial Guinea, it sails at about 60 or 70 nautical miles. And in terms of fuel consumption, it's exorbitant, time consuming, and insecurity. You should be asking if actually the Southwest elite, they know the potentials of the resources that they have, and why are they not actually protesting? Why are they not protesting? This is why I said at every level, like Apostle Ambe just said, the interest of all MPs normally, when you get into the national level, is to defend the interest of your constituency. You don't expect somebody from Jamaica to come and defend your interest at your constituency. No. We defend it as a councillor in my capacity so far now. I'm defending the interest. Yes, honestly. Yes. Yes, sir.
That is the ideology.
Yeah, but that's the ideology.
Of our MPs. Yes. That is not constitutional.
No, it is constitutional, sir. Don't tell me it's not constitutional. What makes it not constitutional?
Please,
no, come on. You sit and
please.
I say it's not constitutional.
Mr. Amungwa. Yep.
If you want me to transmit the copies of the constitution to you, I will do.
Mr. Amungwa. Can we just...
Do I resemble an Ivorian?
I don't know if you resemble...
A Cameroonian.
Of course.
Don't tell me constitution.
No, maybe you are not fully informed. You might be a Cameroonian, but not fully informed.
Mr. Amungwa.
Pastor Ambe, honestly speaking.
Yes, let's come down, please. Let's come down.
Mr. Kum, borrow me a few seconds, please. Just a few seconds.
You don't want Apostle... You are marginalizing. No.
I'm the only lady.
It's the Women's Week. Talk now.
Yes,
1 minute.
Yes, 1 minute. Mr. Kum, Javis said that when the problem of the University of Biya was being arose and letters ran from here and there and the problem was resolved, you will understand that one of the challenges of the government was to ensure that education is being meted in these Anglophone zones. That is one of their problems. It was one of their interests. But employing the Anglophones, it is not their problem. It is not their interest. So that's you have to separate that.
What is this twist now? You always bring politics into this thing. Yes.
I'm a politician.
Yeah. What should be done now? What would you expect the government to do, given that CDC needs urgent attention? Meetings should be called. People should mobilize.
I am calling on the first thing I have to do is I have to call the elites of the Southwest not to be the Judas that will sell our Jesus Christ CDC for 6 pieces of silver. I repeat, I'm calling our MPs, our mayors, our elites, our traditional rulers, not to play the role of Judah by selling our Jesus CDC for 6 pieces of silver. I have calculated that if we have 6 MPs in FACO or in the Southwest, and they have a grant of 8.5 million per annum, within 5 years, an MP earns 40 million. 40 million times 6 MPs will give us 240 million. Are you telling me that it is a fear of that 40 million for 5 years that you want to use to trade a corporation that employs 22,000 Cameroonians that runs a capital of 318,715,000,000 francs CFA, that occupies a surface area of 42,000 hectares of land. Are you trying to tell me that it is that 40 million for 5 years that will make 22 families go hungry because you are afraid to lose the office of an MP, a senator, a mayor, or an elite? Let us not play the role of Judah to sell away our Jesus called CDC. Our offices is for 5 years. CDC is for eternity. When Germans came to Cameroon, they saw oil, but they knew that there was something better than oil in Cameroon. They invested in agriculture. Let this deception that Cameroon is rich in mineral resources not convince us that our number one priority is not agriculture. The soil of this country is the richest asset we have. And if a corporation that does not only bring income but feeds the masses. I remember when I was in Mutengene going to school, most of our parents used to buy the Del Monte banana in the evening to cook for their children to eat. It is not just serving as a source of income, it's serving as a source of livelihood. You are jeopardizing the destiny, the career, and the future of an entire generation. People are dying today in Yemen and Syria because of hunger. If CDC is in the southwest, there are things that are not going to be costly. Red oil is not going to be called as palm oil. Banana will not be costly anymore. It's not everything that CDC produces that we eat, but there are some major things that most of our lives depend on. Since the Monte went down, banana used to be sold for 6 fingers for 100. Now they sell 3 fingers for 300. It's to tell you that the fall of CDC does not only affect the finances, it affects the very livelihood of the people. The particular essence of life in the southwest region has been attacked. Coming now to what the government, or we wish, because of our business to come here, give analysis, and then propose solutions. Now I am proposing this. The energy used to waste over Kameko, the energy used to invest in things that produce nothing in this country should be focused. Vision is the capacity, leadership is the capacity to translate vision into reality. I am very convinced that the resources we have, even if it might not be much, if we have a vision, our resources will be focused in a particular direction. I'm talking as an entrepreneur. I have many projects on ground, but not all is my priority. Cameroon, if you have a scale of preference to treat things now, I think CDC is the #1 priority on your scale of preference. So we are telling the government that even if you might not have money and you have many investments to invest, CDC should be #1 to invest in right now. CDC does not only feed Cameroon, it feeds the entire nation. If you go to Marché Santra, you go to Marché Kululu, you go to Marché Mbopi, you will see tons of bananas that trucks carry from northwest and from southwest and bring here. It is feeding the very population of this country. So let's not jeopardize the well-being. We can enter into malnutrition because the arm that produces food in the country is jeopardized. And for your information, most of the CDC land that has been opened up, farmers are given first and foremost to cultivate their plantains and cocoyams before CDC takes over. So let us understand that the fall of CDC is not just an economic fall. It has educational fall. It has a fall in integrity, morality. It has a fall in even the consumption of food in the nation as a whole. Government is teach in time, the says 9.
Okay. Yes. What do you expect to happen in the days ahead to save the CDC?
What I expect to happen in the days ahead, the first thing is that the elite to come together first and do a joint a session, a working session to the general manager of CDC, talk with him and see what is happening so that they can have first-hand information, because whatever we may be discussing here may not necessarily be the need or their first priority to understand. The second, the youth in the entire regions, northern southwest region, should come up and table a motion of support to CDC and to ensure that CDC is active. What I expect next equally is that His Excellency Churchill Ewumemonono, His Excellency Prime Minister Chief Dr. Joseph Jongute, His Excellency Peter Mafani Mosonge, Senator Mbela Mokichas, Minister Naloba Lyonga, Minister Paul Atanganji, former Prime Minister Yang Philomon, Minister Paul Tasong, Paul Mingo Gogomo. All these persons that I've called their name alongside others should sit and understand that if CDC dies and falls now, Professor Gov't Joma, your legacy is at stake. All these persons should understand that history will hold them responsible, that they were the Anglophones who were at the helm of authority and stood and folded their arms and watched thousands, 22,000 people jobless, 22,000 people out of their jobs, and they should understand that history will not forgive them if CDC falls. So it is their responsibility, legal, constitutional, economic, spiritual, traditional, to ensure that CDC becomes the epitome of the Anglophone development. Why not ensuring that it is the legacy that we have? Wada is dead, PowerCam dead. A lot, they just keep dying. Will CDC go? The history of this nation is on your hands, so you should play safe.
Okay. No, you let her. Yeah.
Well, Mr. Kum, I will analyze this from a political sphere because I'm a politician, and they say politics rules the world. But the tendency is they say politics is a dirty game. I want to call upon all the political parties. Why not go in and cleanse it? Excuse me. I want to call upon all the political parties, those from the opposition, those from the party on power, because Mr. Kum, the party on power won the majority of votes in this zone. So I think that there should be MPs from this political party that will brave all odds to be able to join the opposition parties to denounce the injustice meted on the CDC. Cameroonian politicians should erase that sphere that says that politicians are dirty people, politicians are soiled people. Nothing good can come out from politicians because they are working for their own bellies. I want politicians in Cameroon to rise above that mentality and come out and denounce, despite their political family. Joshua Osi was from an opposition party, but he signed the petition that was sent to the senators of the United States to be able to say, stop all what you're talking about, the Norway and Southwest crisis. We could still have members of parliament from the party on power join the opposition party, brave all odds, brave all the stigma that will go along with it, and say, stop and put in efforts to see that the CDC comes back to life and save a lot of lives, save Cameroonians, and save the economy of Cameroon, and save the feeding attitude of Cameroon. Because, Mr. Kum, banana was one of the cheapest foods you will have in Cameroon. But now when you go to the market, banana is so expensive. Why? Because the outputs has become limited. That is the problem. So I think that this should be a very pressing issue. We are having the next parliamentary session. They should be able to brave all odds and denounce this injustice meted in the companies that are found in the Anglophone zones, especially the CDC.
Mr. Mungwa, yeah.
Yeah, thank you once more. It boils down back what you said. So far, you say politics is a dirty game. I totally defy with that. If it's a dirty game, why not go in and cleanse it? No, hold on. I'm not referring to your statement. I just agree. We are all politicians. I'm one as well. And I'm sitting on this platform to cleanse. That's why I get into it. Like President Ronald Reagan once said, policy is a dirty game. Why not go in and cleanse it? Eventually, and that is why we are there. And equally called on all Cameroonians and youth of all caliber, irrespective of ranks or political lineage, that you have the right to go audit CDC. I'm repeating this again. Collectively, and you publicize and you criticize. Give a collective protest, and you see what the central government of the ruling party, which we think has it doesn't have focus or have a timing within our calendar. You see, there's going to be an answer to your call and your protest. So don't forget, and equally I want to remind most of the authorities or hierarchies who are in government today. I don't want to repeat the names again, like co-panelist Javis just indicated. The legacy, and one of the legacies which John Gov't, former President of National Assembly of West Cameroon and the United Republic of Cameroon, decline was because the grievances he project and the vision he had for Cameroon, he tabled and none was realized, and that's why he tabled his resignation. That was a very vital, I mean, he was documented which each and everyone can refer to. Nothing was actually executed. So you see, the Limbe port, which I did mention, this was one of the worries and the focus and focal point of John Goodfoncha, which was never executed. And he felt frustrated and had to resign. So I am equally calling on the hierarchies who are in power today, the decision makers. If you are unable to, then so far, I don't see how we are moving Cameroon forward. His legacy was he felt frustrated. John Goodfoncha felt frustrated and had to resign from the government because the government gave deaf ears to all what he tabled as development plan for Cameroon as a nation, not only Western Cameroon.
Okay.
So
we have to end here, Mr. Ngwa.
Yeah, just one more point. I'm still appealing that the board of directors of CDC have to sit upright again in compliance and support of His Excellency Prime Minister John Gov't, which I know he's up to the task, who can guide and make sure he survived this crippling company which has been feeding the whole world, and also Cameroon Shipyard and Industrial Engineering, that's Shanti Naval as well. We might not know much about this company, but that's also the third giant company which was surviving the government. I have full statistics about this company, so I know what I'm talking about.
Thank you very much, and thank you
welcome.
to you, Apostle Ambe, for coming.
Thank you, Mr. Liu. It's always a joy to be here. Thank you, Cameroonians, for the privilege to listen to us. God bless you.
Thank you, Javis, for coming.
Thank you, Mr. Liu. Thank you, President Obiad. CDC is crumbling. You know you are listening and you know do something. And good evening again to the Bishop of Biya, His Lordship Michael Bibi, and of course the President of Khalid University of Biya, Professor Victor Johnko.
Thank you, Akwen, for coming.
Thank you, Mr. Kum. It was a pleasure having me on this very beautiful panel. I want to call upon all the women. You know, we are moving towards the Women's Week. Women too can arise and say, stop to the injustice meted on the CDC, because women have the power to change things in the world.
Thank you for coming, Mr. Ngwa.
Thank you very much also, and a big applause also to one of our Cameroonian birth from the West region who have been appointed to head. He's one of the archbishops who just been appointed in the United States of America. So that's a very big kudos that shows that Cameroonians are intelligent. We can go a long way if we are determined and we are conscious that we want our flag to keep flying as a united Cameroonian and not indivisible Cameroon.
Okay, we want to thank you all who took time off to watch the program, and to you, Eli and Desmond, Bertrand and Noel, who are working to produce the program, not forgetting you, Kaiser Michelle, and to you, Tabi Dambe Bryant, who is supervising our work out here. Stay blessed. Bye-bye.